Today on the PIO podcast, we'd like to introduce Jaime Sacco. She's a public information officer for the city of Shawnee in Oklahoma. Thank you for being on the show. So I know where Shawnee is, but can you tell our listeners, first off, where Shawnee is located at?
So Shawnee is about 40 miles east of Oklahoma City. It's just right off I.
Okay. Yeah, I've been through there, traveled through there quite a bit in the last 10 years, and it's grown considerably.
It definitely has. I moved up here about a year and a half ago to accept the job of public information officer, and I came from Texas. So it's been a drastic change of getting used to how things operate and how small the city is compared to Houston.
So you came from Houston. Okay.
I did, yeah.
I was going to say, all right, so next question is, how did you become the PIO?
I applied. Being a PIO has always been a dream job. I started off in news. I worked as an intern, worked my way up to an assignment desk editor, which is basically dispatch. And I realized that I wanted to have more of an impact and a communication directly with the people in the city. I didn't want to be the third party anymore behind the scenes. And so I just kept my ear to the ground. And when the job application popped up, I said, I'm going to go for it. So I submitted it. A week later, after my interview, they offered me the job. I traveled to Shawnee and said, okay, let's make a decision now. Like, do I actually want to take the opportunity? And I did. And here I am a year and a half later, still working at it.
Wow. Okay, so you just uprooted your entire life and moved to Shawnee from Houston. So
I did.
A little bit of difference there, because what's the population of Houston versus Shawnee?
A lot more. Shawnee's about 31,000 and change. Houston,
Okay.
you're talking millions of people.
Yeah. So considerably different. All right. Oh, not necessarily, not anymore. All right, so let's talk about the demographics. So you said 31,000 people. What about police and fire, and how many civilian personnel do you guys have at the city?
So in total, city employees fluctuates between 300 and 315 bodies right now. In police, we have 25 civilian and 76 sworn officers, and that includes our regular police officers, street police officers, as well as the leadership. In fire, we have 3 admins and 56 firefighters.
Okay, so the decent sized fire department and police department for a population of that size, but a growing population though.
Yes, we're hoping to continue to grow, and we've continued to open up positions to gain more firefighters and police officers on our force and just keep going, you know?
Very cool. All right, so tell us about your public information offices. How is it staffed?
So it is a party of one. I am a catch-all, do-all. So I'm the second PIO to hold the position. They opened it, I think 23 is when they had the first PIO. She stayed for a couple of months. And so I've really been building from the ground up. And because of that, I am a part of the city manager's office, but I like to refer to myself as the ugly stepsister of the department because I'm part of the city manager's office, but I'm also very much a standalone.
Okay, so are you also the PIO for police and fire as well?
So I'm the PIO for the fire department.
Okay.
The police department has their own PIO, but I work very closely with her in joint communications and things like that whenever the need arises.
So that's even just having the fire department in there. That's a little bit of a duty there too.
It is. It's very different. I was talking to my chief the other day. I said, primarily I am the city PIO, but there'll be times where I'll have to write something for the fire department and I just have to sneak away to your office and have a 5-minute conversation just to relearn the terminology, the way that y'all think, the way y'all present facts. It's very different. The politics are different. And so that part alone will get me caught up sometimes. And I'm just like, no, you just need to take 5 seconds, have a conversation, and then go after it.
It's amazing how the voices are so much different between police, fire, and city governments. And when I first started doing PIO work and then I moved into the podcast and I started talking to different people, it's interesting when you talk to the general public, they don't understand that it's different. It has a different inflection.
So I kind of got a little bit lucky on that avenue. This is my first job within city government. So I came from the corporate lifestyle. So for me, it was harder to learn from corporate to city government because there's a lot of you can't do this, or there's more red tape, or these are the procedures for this, this, and this. So in a way, for me, it's easier because I already know what the public is looking for, having been in news and in litigation. I know what they understand. I know where the drawbacks are. I know I can anticipate their questions and confusion. So in that way, I can go to my management team and say, hey, this makes sense to you, but as someone just now coming into city government and learning the ropes, this confuses me. So I can guarantee that it's going to confuse the public. So let's take one step further, take this initiative and explain it before we get the comments saying, hey, this doesn't make sense, or why are y'all doing this, or you're skipping this. Like, let's be proactive in our behavior, create that baseline, and then we can keep building off of that.
And that's a great way of going about it, because very frequently, especially in larger government, they like to put things out and just throw them out there and let people figure it out on their own. And I think when you're in a smaller government position, not smaller government, but smaller community, it has more impact, because it those people in those smaller communities, they get impacted very quickly.
That's correct. One thing I will say that's unique about Shawnee is because they've never had a PIO before, they've never had that streamlined communication of constant communication. They've never been kept in the loop consistently. So part of my job coming in was, okay, I am now a face that they can attach to the name. So when they think of the city, they think, oh, we're going to go talk to Jamie. Jamie responds. Jamie works the Facebook pages. So if I send a direct message, that's who's responding to me, and they have an expectation now. So they know that if anything kind of changes or there's any updates internally, they'll be informed just like the city employees are. So
So
it
that
creates
that's
like a
almost a
trust.
good and a bad, right? Because
Yes.
they expect it now, and then if you don't do it for whatever reason, then they're like, "What's going on?"
But it also gives you some grace too, because if we don't do it, they know it's coming. We just can't do it right now. Or maybe there's something else at play, some changes that are going on that we want to wait until those solidify, and then we actually have an update to push out. So in a way, it's like you said, it's a double-edged sword, but it also gives us that grace and leeway for when bigger things do happen, because they know that update will be coming out at some point.
Absolutely. So you mentioned Facebook. What other social media platforms are you currently using to connect with the community?
So primarily it's definitely Facebook, just having conversations with our citizens. That's what they're used to. That's their go-to. So that's what I'm working on perfecting in terms of algorithms and content and figuring out like what interests them. We're also using LinkedIn, Instagram, and we're also trying to really push our website.
And that's something that is not done as much anymore. Years ago, that was all it was, a website, kind of pre social media. And then social media came and everybody pushed to social media, and then they forgot about their website. So a lot of times local government websites are frequently outdated, and frequently, they're not user friendly.
So I can relate. That's kind of the same situation that we're in right now. That was one of my big asks from my leadership when I got hired is we need someone to manage our website, to update it, to make it more user friendly. Like this is your task. And it's been a very daunting task because I came in with no knowledge whatsoever about building a website, maintaining a website, what goes on it, what doesn't. And so it's been a huge learning curve, but I have got a great team and IT department that are like, I'll work with you. We'll do the back end of it and you'll do the public facing information. So we've kind of divided and conquered in that sense.
That's good. And you know what? And nowadays with AI chatbots and stuff like that, if you've programmed that well, a lot of stuff can be answered without having to go directly to a human being via your
Right.
website. And that's a pattern that takes time to develop, but once you get it in place, makes life so much easier, because most people just want answers to simple questions like, what's the ordinance for grass length and things like that, or do I have to get a parking permit for the street? Simple
Correct.
thing.
I will say with our citizens, they're very good about coming to City Hall or giving us a phone call or sending us an email when they do have questions like that. And when we do get those questions, and we do try and prioritize them as quickly as we can, and not just give them an answer, but give them a resource. So if they have another question related to that topic, they can go back themselves because they have the materials at their fingertips. They can just go back and search it and then they have their own answers.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's one of the things you want to teach them, to do it to be self-sufficient like that, because it stinks when you have to answer questions over and over again, the same answer. It gets
Yeah.
tough.
Well, and it
Jamie,
also go ahead.
no, go ahead. Finish your point.
I was going to say it also works with the rumors. So a lot of times when they don't get an instant reaction or an answer or attention, sometimes they'll be like, well, they're just putting us down, or we're not important, or our questions aren't important. It's like, no, here's your answer. You are important to us. And because of that, we're going to help give you more resources so you can tell your friends like, hey, they might not answer because they're busy right now or because there's things going on, but the resources are readily available.
Nice, nice. Jamie, do you utilize any specialized software or technology to make your job easier currently?
I create a lot of templates. I use base templates with PowerPoint because, like I said, I'm building the position, so I'm building a lot of the graphics, a lot of the messaging and things like that. So right now I'm just building base templates and then I build off of those when necessary. I haven't really overly branched out yet because I want to build templates that people understand, my crew understands. So if something happens to me, if I'm on vacation or if I'm not accessible, they have something that's already.
Nice. Are you have you done a style guide yet?
I have not, and I'm not familiar with the term. I'm still a
So
brand
the
new PIO.
style guide basically is like your branding guide. So it's this type of font is allowed for titles. This kind of font is meant for the body. These are the colors for the brand of the city or the brand of the fire department, whatever it might be. And then you limit like taglines going all the way down with even email address. Because if you look at most city government, the email address signature line is like could be 40, 50 different versions. And it doesn't go to a cohesive, even in my police department, when I first got there, people had rotating lights on there and the squad cars on it. And it was just so busy. It was not very professional looking.
So we definitely don't have that yet. And that's a work in progress because if you look at our website, it's very much hodgepodge. It's not unified. But that's also because we've never had one person to oversee all of that, to create those standards. So in a way, like, yes, I'm working towards that. I just haven't gotten to that point yet.
Well, only being there a year and a half, right? I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, you're especially building from basically ground up. You had somebody there was a couple months.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I get
literally
it.
started my job and they said, here's my wish list, make it happen. I'm like, okay, here we go.
Ouch. Ouch. Jamie, when I was doing research for this interview, several issues I saw that were reoccurring in comments and stuff on the city page. A few of those issues were homelessness, the opioid fentanyl crisis, and the city's financial stability. As the PIO there, do you have a strategic communications plan for those?
Not 100% a strategic communications plan because we are undergoing a lot of internal change with the city right now. Each of those situations are unique and each of those situations will continue to evolve. As far as the homelessness issue, it's one of those things my parents always said, you know, parenting never comes with a manual. And with social issues, that's also applicable, I think. So the most that we can do as a city government is work with our community stakeholders. Say, hey, we see this, we acknowledge this. Let's work together to come up with solutions. There's no one solution that's going to fix the problem or the situation, but we can work to make things better and we learn from our mistakes and we keep moving forward and addressing things as they come. And eventually you'll find something that sticks and really works. In terms of the opioid grant, or not the opioid grant, but the opioid fentanyl crisis, my previous city manager, she had applied and was granted the opioid grant from the state. So we've received that funding, and myself and a couple of other employees are working towards implementing it, getting that information out there and the resources out there, and again, working with community stakeholders to make that happen. Financial stability, that's tricky because Oklahoma is one of the few states that still only operates off of sales tax revenue. So some years are good, some years are bad. So it fluctuates, which means the financial income to the state or the city will actually fluctuate as well. But we do have additional forms of bringing in money through permitting, fees, and things like that.
Okay, and I didn't mean to call you on those. Those are just ones that I saw that when I was doing research, and I know homelessness in a lot of the cities in the country is an issue. and there's not any one simple solution for it. And then you go to the opioid and fentanyl crisis. That is a nationwide thing. The president has called a lot of attention to that. Him designating the cartels as terrorist organizations will go to the effort to try and stem that flow from coming into the country. We'll see. Jamie, for crisis communications, tornado, severe cold weather, things like that, how do you alert the community in a crisis?
So the city of Shawnee uses an application called Smart 911, and in turn, the county uses Code Red. So citizens are encouraged to sign up for those alert systems, and it'll send you text messages, phone calls. I myself have woken up in the middle of the night to a phone call saying, "Hey, we have a tornado warning." And they'll also get options to register their storm shelter and all of those things. Additionally, we'll use Facebook, primarily Facebook, to get our alerts out. People are very weather aware here because tornadoes can happen at the drop of the hat.
Yeah.
And in other ways, we also do like emails or phone calls, things like that. And then we have, I think, 19 tornado sirens stationed out through the city that'll go off if a tornado's on its way.
Okay. So you have a variety of different platforms to do that. And I like that the county's got Code Red and then you guys are using Smart 911. Smart 911 is a really nice system. When I was in my old apartment, we had that and it's very helpful. Especially what I was really neat about it was that it could do multiple languages when it sent out the alerts, which was very nice.
One other thing about Smart 911 that I learned this year was that the police and emergency management have the ability to send text messages through. So if there's severe or inclement weather that aren't like weather alert worthy, they can send updates saying, "Hey, if this is the case, police officers will do this, or you can expect this, or if this happens, here's a plan of action for you." So
Right.
it varies on the messaging.
It's very user friendly system for the back end, which is kind of nice. I like it. Jamie, I read recently that the city updated its strategic plan. So from your experience with it, what are your responsibilities in sharing that plan with the community?
So in terms of the planning, so our strategic plan, the visioning for leadership actually happened within days before our April 2023 tornado. So it kind of got put on hold for a little bit. But when we were able to pick it back up, we created visioning sessions. I believe we did four sessions in four different locations at four different times so that the citizens could have the opportunity to come in, read the draft, ask questions, make comments, give suggestions. They were building the strategic plan. So they were able to take and say, "Hey, I helped with that." They were given the opportunity to talk with our department heads and ask all those really, really difficult questions, the ones that they take to Facebook with. And it's like, well, here's a person. So we opened that up. And then after that, once those visioning sessions were over, we took all of their comments, concerns, suggestions, and then we formulated the strategic plan off of that. Post a strategic plan that was adopted by the commissioners, then we just put on our website, we push it out on Facebook. We said, "Here's the availability. If they ever ask me questions, I will always give them that answer, and then direct them exactly where on our website it can be found. That way I can give them that information and anticipate any previous questions that they might have."
Nice. And I'm really impressed when I find communities that work with the community to gather the things that are important to them instead of just, shoving down a strategic plan to the community and saying, "But here it is." And nobody
Yeah.
listened to anybody in the community, didn't talk to the stakeholders, didn't see what was important to them. Because like you said, having it at different locations at different times, you're getting different people and you're getting different backgrounds and different needs in that part of the community that you may not be thinking about from the government perspective.
Right. And they feel important too because the city government, we're here to serve them. And we have a very difficult job task to us, but at the end of the day, it's what's best for the citizens of Shawnee. Will continue to make the city grow, and you can't do it without them.
Absolutely. Jamie, I've been asking this question of all my guests. Have you incorporated any AI into any of your communication efforts? And if so, what type?
So I have incorporated AI some. It's mostly to give me ideas of different ways of communicating with the public, like just simple things like rewording something or explaining something a little bit better. Like I said, one of my challenges personally is I come from a bigger city. So I'm used to being able to talk and present a certain way, but coming to Shawnee, they have a different viewpoint and it's a smaller city mindset. And I need to adjust my thinking, my learning, my presentation in a way that understands them and helps them understand what I'm trying to deliver. I do think that AI is going to be here to stay, but I also see AI as being a double-edged sword because privacy reasons. So the city's actively working towards an AI policy just to help keep things legal and not release information that we're not supposed to release because it is a
It is. And I know like there's always been initially when it started coming out, I had a couple PIOs and a couple PR people were saying, this is going to really make our job harder. People are going to say we don't need a PR person or PIO. We can just have AI do it. And the reality of it is that's never going to happen. One of the PIOs from no, not Tampa, Atlanta PD, Chata Spikes. She said it perfectly. AI does not have heart intelligence. It can't speak with empathy unless it's told to do it. So it's never gonna get it out when you need to get it out at the right time unless it's told to do it. And that requires a person. So it'll never have heart intelligence.
I agree. And I also think that in terms of crisis and emergencies, people naturally drift to a person with empathy and understanding. It's like you can see something and take something from digital social media, but you can also get more and feel more comforted when it's coming from a human being, someone that you can relate to.
Absolutely. And I see advantages for AI, like you said, with helping you structure things for the community there. And I've used it for outlines when I'm writing an article or something, and it'll say, here's what I came up with. Am I missing something that should be in this article for my outline? And it'll give me a couple of points and I'll refine a paragraph and saying, okay, this how does this sound and in what voice is it in so I know where I'm hitting the mark. And I think that's very useful. So Jamie, where do you see changes in the future on how public information officers communicate in the community in the next 5 years?
I can see it becoming more digital. A lot of times, in my experience, at least now, a lot of people drift away from having in person conversations. They like to go to social media for their information. They like something that's quick and easy. And I think having that in person conversation does create some stress for some people. They're just not comfortable with it. On the flip side, I also hope that they'll come to rely on the PIOs more and realize that they're worth because a lot of times when you say, "Oh, I'm a PIO for this entity," they don't understand what that means. They don't understand what that job entails. And so I hope the more we're out there, the more that we're creating this information and presenting it, I hope that they'll realize how much of an impact people like us make.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, you brought up people not gravitating towards the online communication. It's interesting. The younger population is so used to being on their phone, in a computer, not interacting face to face, that when they do come into the room to have a face to face conversation, it's via text message on their phone. We did this test with a group of teenagers when I was at another agency, had them all come in a room. They were supposed to have a discussion about crime and teenagers. And they were sending things in to the chat that was for the people that were somewhere else. And we're like, well, why are you sending this in? You're in the room. Just tell us. Well, I feel more comfortable doing it this way.
A lot of times it's because they don't know how to anymore. It's not
Yeah.
fostered. That activity isn't fostered.
Yeah. Have you run into the issue like when you get a teenager or a college kid call you for like I did internships, so they would call and they could barely have a conversation on the phone.
Yes, I have run into that, but that's where you just kind of you bridge it and you're like, this is going to be easy and painless and I can anticipate it. And if you ask them the right questions, 9 times out of 10, they're going to open up. You just have to find something that they can relate to.
Right. And hard to believe that people can't talk like that. It's like I'm just so used to it because I might just go. I just talk, you know. Sometimes I
I
get
will
told I gotta shut up.
I will say I'm very lucky on that aspect because I'm on the back end of the millennials. So I can still have conversations. I can run with the best of them, but I still understand the need to be more introverted. So I understand how they operate. And it's one of those things you just kind of anticipate their next move.
Absolutely. Jamie, is there a question I should have asked? And if so, how would you have answered it?
I guess we didn't broach the topic of leadership changes within the past. And I only say this because we're going through it right now, and it's brought up some very fascinating challenges for us. Within the past year and a half, we've had several staff changes, and several of those staff changes have been on our leadership team. Primarily, our city manager has recently resigned in January. And so when you have a big shift like that, everything moves and you're used to one person's sense of management. Well, after they're gone, you have a very big waiting period. And then it's like another shift, and then you relearn the new sense of style management. It's very interesting because one thing I've learned is that no matter what happens, at the end of the day, you still have a job to do. You still have a duty to the citizens, and there's still a to-do list sitting on your desk that still has to be completed by a certain date. So even though like there's so much change, there's still so much that still remains the same. And to me, and this is the first time I've ever experienced anything this fast. I know it's common in city government, but I've never seen it, never had anyone talk to me about it. So I just thought it was really cool and something I wanted to bring up how everything can keep changing, but you're still the same. You still have a job. And it's just really cool.
Well, you know what? I appreciate you bringing that up because it is something that our job does not stop. We still have to deal with the things that we're responsible for. At the same time, being able to interpret the new leadership's vision, decisions, and the way they want to speak. So yeah, great question to bring up. I love it. Let's go to some rapid fire questions. Texting or talking? Movies or books?
Books,
Coffee, tea, or energy drink?
coffee. I used to joke that I needed an IV bag hooked up to me when I was working in news.
Adult drink of choice?
Whiskey and Coke or an old fashioned?
The best. Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Favorite way? What's your favorite go-to karaoke song?
Oof, I don't do karaoke.
If you ever go to an NAOA conference, you have to do one. They have a karaoke night and it is a blast.
Oh my goodness. I'll be
Yeah,
prepared
if you
for
ever go to the
that.
National Information Officers Association conference, there's a karaoke night and it's a blast. It really is. What would be your superpower if you could have one? Good one. If you could instantly become an expert in one thing, what would it be?
Teleportation. I drive too much.
Ask permission or beg for forgiveness?
Beg for forgiveness.
What place do you most want to travel to?
Italy. I got the chance to go to Paris over Christmas, and now I've got the travel bug.
There you go. What's your favorite way to relax on a long day?
After a long day, I will go work out at CrossFit, walk my dog, make dinner at home, and then curl up on the couch and read a book.
Sounds good. If you could choose to have coffee with any historical figure, living or dead, who would it be?
I have to say Amelia Earhart. Growing up, I've always read her histories and like how much of a trailblazer she is, and in such a male dominated area. Like
Mm-hmm.
you'd have to have some real big guns to do what she did and to pursue her dreams, and that's something I can relate to and I want to strive after.
Very cool. What key points would you like our listeners to take from today's interview?
Change will always happen, but there's still a lot that will remain the same. Keep doing what you're doing, keep your head up, and don't be afraid to learn, and always be never be the smartest person in the room is what I would go down with. Yeah.
Nice. As we wrap up, is there a piece of wisdom or a motto that you live by?
So one thing I've learned in my very short time at the city of Shawnee is not everybody will like you. A lot of people have opinions on how you need to do your job. A lot of people will not like you because it is your job to be front and center. But people are allowed to have their opinions. So let them, but don't let that affect your quality of work. Don't let that affect you chasing your dream or the work product that you put out or your vision that you have to help bring your entity into the light, into the future, and keep doing a good job.
Awesome. How could people best reach you if they want to connect or follow up on anything they've heard today?
Through my LinkedIn account, I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me on the city's Facebook page. I'm really easy to get a hold of. Just shoot me a message or give me a phone call.
And I'll add that onto the show notes for when it show gets put up. Jaime, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.